Welcome to the Journeyman Podcast, everyone. We are on episode 9 now. And this one is, this one is a doozy. We are going deep into a world of allegations and mystery, unanswered questions, all surrounding some big names in the music industry. So if this sounds like your kind of deep dive, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.
It's a story that's been making its rounds online for a while now. All these whispers of conspiracies and cover-ups.
So, okay, here's the deal. We are talking about Uncle Ron. You know the guy who used to be a bodyguard for Beyonce and Diddy? Before he died, suddenly he went on TikTok and dropped some serious bombshells, accusing these music moguls of some pretty shady stuff. And of course, the internet went wild.
What makes this case so fascinating is that these aren't just like random rumors. Uncle Ron was claiming that he was working with the FBI, like he was building a federal case against Diddy. And I think it's important for people to understand that. Becoming an AI informant, that's a serious process. It involves a lot of vetting and requires a lot of evidence to even think about launching an investigation.
So it's not like anyone could just walk in and be like, hey, FBI, I got some dirt on this celebrity, and they'll break them seriously.
Exactly. There are protocols and legal standards that they have to uphold. For the FBI to even think about working with someone like Uncle Ron, he would have needed to have presented some pretty credible information, potentially corroborated by other sources or evidence.
Which makes his sudden death even more suspicious, especially because it happened so soon after Diddy's arrest. What was he even arrested for?
The specifics of Diddy's arrest, they haven't really been made public, but the timing of it. So close to Uncle Ron's passing. Yeah, that's definitely raising some eyebrows. People are connecting the dots, speculating that maybe Uncle Ron was about to testify or reveal information that could have jeopardized Diddy's case.
And to make Katie's even more suspicious, Uncle Ron's official cause of death was pneumonia. And get this, Diddy's ex-wife Kim Porter also died of pneumonia.
That's a detail that's hard to ignore. It feeds into the speculation, for sure. Makes people wonder if there's something more to these seemingly natural deaths.
It's like something straight out of a crime thriller. The mysterious deaths, the powerful figures, the whispers of a cover-up.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's important to remember that just because things seem to be connected doesn't mean they are. Pneumonia is a serious illness. It's not unheard of for seemingly healthy individuals to die from it.
True. But the coincidence of both Uncle Ron and Kim Porter dying from the same illness, and both of them connected to Diddy, it is definitely peculiar. So it begs the question, how plausible are Uncle Ron's accusations in the first place?
That's where we need to really dissect his claims and analyze them within the context of the music industry. Remember, this is a world of cutthroat competition, fortunes made and lost, and reputations can be built up or destroyed in an instant.
So he accused Jay-Z and Diddy of being involved in Biggie's death. That's a pretty huge claim. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, these allegations, they've been circulating for years. I mean, Uncle Ron isn't the first person to point a finger at Diddy. You know, Gene Deal, who was with Diddy the night that Biggie was killed, he's also publicly questioned Diddy's account of that night. And he was in the same car as Diddy when the shooting happened. So his perspective carries some weight.
So now this adds another layer to the story. We have an eyewitness, someone who was there voicing similar suspicions. That's definitely something to consider. Has Diddy ever responded to these allegations?
He's denied any involvement in Biggie's death on numerous occasions. But of course, a denial doesn't necessarily equal innocence, especially when you consider Uncle Ron's claims that Diddy offered him money to kill Biggie back in 1997.
Wait a minute, so you're telling me Diddy straight up tried to hire Uncle Ron as a hitman?
That's what Uncle Ron alleged. He claimed that Diddy offered him $30,000 to take Biggie's life, but he refused because he learned that Biggie was planning to leave Bad Boy Records.
So if Biggie was about to leave Diddy's label, that means that Diddy would potentially be losing a lot of income, right? Like all of Biggie's future royalties.
Exactly. And to understand the potential financial motives here, we need to talk about publishing catalogs. These are collections of copyrights to musical compositions, owning the rights to a popular artist's catalog that can generate massive revenue for decades.
And the plot thickens because Diddy actually did own the rights to Biggie's music until recently.
Which aligns with Uncle Ron's claim that Diddy was motivated by financial gain. He wanted to secure control over Biggie's lucrative publishing catalog.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Uncle Ron is saying that Diddy wanted Biggie dead so that he could control his music rights, offered him money to do it, and then years later, after Uncle Ron starts spilling the beans online, he suddenly dies.
That's the narrative that a lot of people are piecing together. And the timing of Diddy's arrest right before Uncle Ron's death, that just adds another layer of intrigue.
It's like something out of a Hollywood movie. Betrayal, greed, and maybe even murder. But we're just getting started. There's a whole other side to this story involving Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Welcome back to the Journeyman Podcast. We are continuing our deep dive into the allegations surrounding Uncle Ron's death and his explosive claims about some of music's biggest power players.
So before the break, we were digging into Uncle Ron's accusations against Diddy, particularly that alleged murder-for-hire plot involving Biggie Smalls. It's a chilling thought, and it raises some serious questions about how far people might go in pursuit of wealth and power.
Yeah, and it's crucial to understand the context here. The music industry, especially the hip hop scene of the 90s, it was notoriously volatile. You had these really intense rivalries, and there was so much money at stake.
Right, we're talking about an era where artists weren't just musicians. They were brands, CEOs, cultural icons. Their music was a product, and their lives were so intertwined with business deals and street cred and this constant struggle for dominance.
Exactly. And in that kind of environment where loyalty can be so fluid and the stakes are that high, it's not inconceivable that someone might resort to some pretty drastic measures to protect their interests.
But let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the other bombshell that Uncle Ron dropped, Jay-Z and Beyonce. He made some pretty wild accusations about them too, right?
He did. One of the most shocking claims was that Blue Ivy, Jay-Z and Beyonce's daughter, that she isn't actually Jay-Z's biological child.
Yeah, I remember that. He said something about it being like a financial arrangement, and that the real father was someone named Tata. Who is this Tata guy anyway?
Tata is believed to be Tyron Ty Smith. He's a longtime friend and business associate of Jay-Z. He's been a prominent figure in the hip-hop scene for years, working kind of behind the scenes as a manager and an executive.
So according to Uncle Ron, Jay-Z and Beyonce, they entered into this agreement where Ty fathered Blue Ivy, but Jay-Z would raise her as his own. What would even be the motive behind that?
Yeah, that's where things get a little murky. Uncle Ron didn't really elaborate on the specifics of this alleged arrangement or the reasons behind it. It's left a lot of people scratching their heads, wondering if there's any truth to it at all.
It's definitely a bizarre claim, and I can't imagine that Jay-Z and Beyonce are too happy about having their personal lives dragged through the mud like this. Have they addressed any of these allegations?
They've remained pretty tight-lipped. They haven't publicly engaged with Uncle Ron's claims, which honestly isn't that surprising. Engaging in a back and forth with someone making such outrageous allegations would probably just add fuel to the fire and give the story more oxygen.
Right, the classic no-comment strategy. A lot of celebrities use it when they're facing some negative publicity, but silence can sometimes be interpreted as an admission of guilt.
Yeah, it can, but it can also be a way to protect yourself from further scrutiny and to avoid legitimizing baseless claims. It's hard to say for sure what Jay-Z and Beyonce's motivations are in this case.
Fair enough, but let's not forget Uncle Ron didn't stop there. He also alleged that Beyonce had a drug problem and that Jay-Z was enabling her addiction.
He claimed to have witnessed Beyonce's drug use firsthand during his time as their bodyguard.
But did he offer any proof, like any photos, videos, eyewitness accounts, anything to back up these serious accusations?
No, unfortunately not. He didn't present any concrete evidence to support his claims. It was basically his word against theirs.
So we're left with a situation where we have this disgruntled former employee making these explosive claims without providing any real proof, the classic he said, she said scenario.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that just because someone makes an accusation, it doesn't automatically mean it's true. We have this legal principle called innocent until proven guilty for a reason.
Absolutely. But even if we take Uncle Ron's claims about the drug use with a grain of salt, we still have to address the bigger picture here, his sudden death, and this unsettling connection to the deaths of Kim Porter and Brittany Murphy, all seemingly from pneumonia.
That's the element of this story that has really captured the attention of conspiracy theorists worldwide. You have three relatively young and seemingly healthy individuals, all connected to the music industry in some way, all dying of pneumonia within a few years of each other. And then there's the common thread that links them all, the coroner who handled their autopsies, Ed Winter. And if you believe some of the whispers online, Winter himself might have succumbed to the same fate.
Okay, that's where I start to get creeped out. The coroner who investigated all of these pneumonia-related deaths dies of what might also be pneumonia. It's like a bad horror movie plot.
It's definitely an eerie coincidence. It's totally understandable why people are connecting the dots, and they're searching for a more sinister explanation. But I think we have to be careful about letting our speculation run wild. Pneumonia, while a serious illness, it's not uncommon. And there's a difference between acknowledging a peculiar pattern and jumping to conclusions about some nefarious plot.
Right, we need to be cautious and avoid falling down the rabbit hole of unfounded conspiracy theories. But at the same time, we can't just ignore these strange connections. So how do we reconcile these seemingly disparate elements of the story? Uncle Ron's accusations, his sudden death and pneumonia link, the lack of concrete evidence.
That is the million-dollar question. And it's a question that we may never have a definitive answer to. But that's the nature of mysteries like this. They linger in our minds. They prompt us to question what we think we know and to consider the possibility that there's more to the story than meets the eye.
Welcome back to the Journeyman Podcast. We've been trying to untangle this web of allegations and suspicious deaths and these powerful figures in the music industry. It's a story that is both captivating and unsettling, with twists and turns that would make even the most seasoned detective kind of scratch their head.
Yeah, we've explored these claims of murder for hire and financial conspiracies and alleged drug use, all swirling around this untimely death of Uncle Ron, a former bodyguard who dared to speak out against some of music's biggest names.
Right, and we've talked about Diddy, Jay-Z, Beyonce, examining the accusations against them, trying to make sense of the motives behind Uncle Ron's claims. But there's one element of this story that keeps coming back to haunt us, this curious case of pneumonia.
It's the thread that connects Uncle Ron, Kim Porter, Brittany Murphy. Three seemingly healthy individuals, all linked to the music industry, all dying from this common respiratory illness within a relatively short time frame. And then there's Ed Winter, the coroner who handled their autopsies, whose death was also shrouded in mystery, with some speculating that he too might have fallen victim to pneumonia.
It's a pattern that's hard to ignore. And while it's tempting to just chalk it up to coincidence, it's understandable why some people are raising questions and searching for a more sinister explanation.
And let's be clear, pneumonia is a serious illness. It can be fatal, especially for people with underlying health conditions or weakened immune systems. However, the fact that it seems to be the common denominator in these cases, particularly involving individuals who are relatively young and seemingly in good health, it does raise some eyebrows.
Right? It's one thing if we're talking about elderly individuals or people with pre-existing conditions, but in these cases it seems like pneumonia struck out of the blue, claiming the lives of people who were in the prime of their lives.
And that's where the speculation really take hold. Some people believe that these weren't just ordinary cases of pneumonia. They point to the fact that all these individuals were connected to the music industry, a world that's known for its cutthroat competition and behind-the-scenes power plays.
So they're suggesting that maybe there's this more potent strain of pneumonia, like a weaponized version of the illness that's being used to silence people who know too much. It sounds like something out of a spy novel. A silent killer that leaves no trace?
It's a captivating theory, but we have to be cautious about venturing into the realm of pure speculation. There's no evidence to support the existence of such a weaponized pneumonia.
Right, of course we need to be grounded in reality and not let our imaginations run wild. But at the same time, we can't just dismiss the possibility that there's more to these pneumonia-related deaths than meets the eye.
Exactly, it's a balancing act, acknowledging the unusual nature of these cases while remaining critical of unfounded claims. And that's where I think the true value of a deep dive like this comes in, encouraging our listeners to think for themselves, to weigh the evidence, and to form their own conclusions.
So what do we make of all this? We have this former bodyguard making explosive allegations against these powerful figures in the music industry. We have his sudden death followed by a string of pneumonia-related deaths involving individuals that were connected to those he accused. And then we have this lack of concrete evidence to definitively prove or disprove any of these claims.
It's a puzzle with missing pieces, a story with chapters yet to be written. And while we may never know the full truth, a journey of exploring these questions, unraveling the connections, confronting the uncertainties, that's what makes this case so compelling.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most intriguing mysteries are the ones that remain unsolved. They challenge us to think critically, to consider different perspectives, and to acknowledge that the world is full of complexities and ambiguities.
And perhaps that's the most valuable lesson we can take away from this deep dive, the importance of questioning what we think we know, embracing the unknown, and remaining open to the possibility that there's always more to uncover.
Absolutely. We've explored the allegations, we've analyzed the evidence, and we've considered a range of possibilities. But ultimately, the question of what really happened to Uncle Ron and those connected to him, it remains unanswered.
It's a mystery that continues to captivate and intrigue, and it's likely to spark debates and fuel conspiracy theories for years to come.
So what do you think? Do you believe Uncle Ron's accusations? Do you think there's more to these pneumonia-related deaths than meets the eye? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below.
And if you enjoy this deep dive into the heart of the music industry's dark side, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the Journeyman Podcast for more captivating explorations of stories that challenge our perceptions and make us question everything we thought we knew.
Until next time, keep those minds open, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the journey is just as important as the destination.